I am Jason Graves, and E.V.O. Search for Eden is a game paradoxically incredibly famous for being obscure. It didn't receive a high production run, but in the age of YouTube, emulators, and titles on a ROM list, it's reversed course. If a game has multiple high-profile reviews here on YouTube with over 1 million views and another one with 450,000, the game isn't obscure anymore. It's no hidden gem. If I can search the name of a game on YouTube and find a dozen reviews that are somehow worse than mine, and then another 20 that are 1 million times better, then your game isn't underrated, it's not underrepresented, it's not under anything, it's just properly rated. The general consensus seems to say that, you know what, why don't I just show you what the general consensus is, because E.V.O. Search for Eden, I'd wager these days is one of the top 50 or so most well-known games on the Super Nintendo. The retro gaming community at large has had their crack at this game.
The grandparent to Will Wright's Spore games.
Now, way back when, I was one of the many people let down by Spore.
Some have compared this game to Spore, and consider it to be a spiritual ancestor.
Arts attempted the same concept with a game called Spore.
Are you okay with grinding? Because that's the #1 barrier for people to get by when it comes to E.V.O.
Faulted the game for its grindy gameplay.
Evolving these body parts is not easy. It is a grind. You'll probably end up spending half the entire playtime with this game killing regular enemies over and over and over again, just to accumulate enough EVO points.
Better fin, better tail. Essentially the whole game is a big grind fest.
But you've got to eat a lot of them before you gain any experience. Level grinding is a huge part of the game, sadly.
E.V.O. is a lot like a handful of coffee beans. They both need to be grinded thoroughly to be enjoyed.
The big downside of this game is that it's very grind heavy, and the way you grind isn't all that interesting.
You can easily spend half hour or more just running back and forth, slaughtering everything you come across and gorging yourself.
Gosh guys, this sure is fun walking back and forth getting EVO points. It's a really good time, and I don't even want to start drinking heavily.
Of course, it's time to grind. Which it probably will be, because that's basically all you'll be doing this game. Grinding and dying.
Because there is a lot of grinding here.
The asking price being around an insane $200 to $300.
Positive note about the game, it actually has become one of the most sought after Super Nintendo games for collectors.
It is such a shame that the game is so expensive.
If you're lucky, it will cost you less than $200 for a loose copy. I ended up trading quite a few games from my collection in order to get this.
Allow me to be incredibly egotistical for a moment, but it almost feels like good YouTube videos are a personal assault. Most of the time when making a video, in my head I'll compare other people's videos about the same game and then say, oh, mine's better, or oh, I like what they did there, or oh, wow, in 1 billion years mine couldn't fucking touch theirs. And in this case, I lose to so many videos it's not even funny. This video's better, this video's better. All these videos are just better than anything I could have made about it. It's happened before in this series, in particular the one that stands out is Final Fantasy V. I found this video, which was 1 million times better than anything I could ever make, and it just took all the wind out of my sails. It killed any enthusiasm I might have had to talk about the game. Yes, it's shitty, yes, it's egotistical, and yes, it makes me shitty, it makes me egotistical. And no, being self-aware doesn't make that any better, but it's reality. I often get jealous about other people's videos. Not the view count or the subscribers, only fools get caught up in that. No, not in any quantifiable way, but in a subjective, qualitative, enlightened YouTube gamer bullshit kind of way. It's when I see something in the same style, when someone else already made what I wanted to make, and did it better, that's when I'm bitter. I don't really know what the point of me bringing this up is. At this point, I'm just Abe Simpson yelling at a cloud. I'll play one more YouTube clip. This guy summarizes the entire game best right here.
The idea for this game is certainly solid. It is outweighed by loads of other annoying elements that turn the EVO experience into a repetitive, frustrating grindfest. This game could have been so much better if it only spent a few more years evolving.
Except for when he compared it to Dark Souls.
These bosses do work well most of the time. EVO kinda reminds me of an unevolved version of the Dark Souls series, as the bosses are crazy hard most of the time, and beating them will require you to learn the attack patterns and exploit them with perfect precision.
I'm not gonna do that. In fact, you can cheese almost every boss. Anyone trying to tell you that this game is difficult either sucks, is playing it up for dramatic effect, or is lying. There's a developer oversight, or maybe it's not, maybe they expect you to do it, which is frightening if true, where if you evolve any part of your body during a boss fight, you get all your health back. This results in going into a boss fight with as many EVO points as you can, and then just picking the easiest, cheapest options to evolve. Everything I can say about this game is redundant. And that's the main problem with a series like this, is that I'm forcing myself to talk about every single game, even when they've been talked to death like this one has. Sometimes I can make the video my own despite this, because it's not like E.V.O. The Search for Eden is the only game that's like this. There are plenty of games that have seen so much attention on YouTube that it's almost hard to find my own unique angle and take it on. But I don't think it stopped me from making a good video out of Final Fantasy Mystic Quest or Shin Megami Tensei, but here, in this case, I pretty much just agree with what everyone else is already saying. That it's expensive, that it's kinda like Spore, and that you grind a lot. Those are the three tent poles of this game. So all I can really offer is a series of smaller, inconsequential observations. Like how I really like the boing sound effect. I also like how the game increased in complexity as it went along, mirroring how the life forms evolve over time and get more complex. For example, you start out in water and have free reign over the entire screen, but in Chapter 2 you need to contend with jumping, physics, gravity, everything that goes along with the traditional side-scroller. But even when you get on land, the segments aren't so much designed levels, they almost feel like you've been let loose in a zoo. And it makes sense that there aren't any designed levels for most of the game because they're just simple animals. They don't have the capacity to build obstacles that you as a player would have to traverse. The only areas that act like a proper stage in a video game are in the last 25% of the game or so, when the creatures have advanced enough to actually construct something like it. I'd also like to point out that Pac-Man has absolutely nothing on you in this game. You can eat the NPCs. Take a look at this Mega Chad. You trigger the King Bee by eating his children. You eat this Yeti's parents, and he's fucking sad about it. And no, you can't eat the kid, and yes, the game would have been better if you could. I like the evolutionary paths of the other creatures, like how some of the species came on land and some stayed in water. Like this shark friend, he's the first boss of the game, but when you come back to sea very, very late, he's just there as a regular enemy, unchanged. So many other forms of life have surpassed him that he went from the mighty king to the regular Joe. It's unfortunate that the evolution options are a lot more shallow than the game might lead you to believe. The evolution mechanic almost seems like it could be complex, but usually the most expensive option is the best option. Notable exceptions are only if you're aiming to become something specific. I did not figure out how to turn into a bird, but I did figure out how to evolve into a human. And by figure out, I mean the game literally tells you. You need to evolve cat jaws and a rabbit-like body, then with a stroke of intuition, here you are. E.V.O. Search for Eden is cool because of its sheer originality. There's nothing else like it. The entire game is the premise, and that's why it's notable. The best thing a game can be when it's simple and repetitive like this is to not overstay its welcome. And not only is this one mercifully short, it doesn't command your full attention. As everyone else on the planet has already covered, you'll spend an outsized amount of time walking back and forth eating these same animals to get EVO points. If the game looks fun to you, know that it's small and you can get through it in 2 sittings. You know, when I was making this, I had the idea to construct the entire review out of other reviews. So just imagine that one segment, but like the entire video. Fortunately, my cooler side prevailed, and I decided that it was too trashy even for me. My life lesson for today is that no matter what you do, it doesn't matter. There will always be somebody better. There is always a bigger fish, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't try to get yours. Till next time, remember, never trust anyone who needs a haircut.